In this video, I'm going to share with you how to structure an effective life coaching session. In this video, first I'm going to share a little bit about some of the problems that get in the way of having an effective session. I'll share with you some solutions to those problems. And then I'm going to share with you a 6-step process that I found pretty much always works universally for how to have an effective coaching conversation. Let's go. The purpose of a coaching conversation or a coaching session is to have a breakthrough, is to help a client have a transformation. And that's what got us into this business, right? You wouldn't be doing this if you didn't want to have great outcomes. Now, the problem is, or one of many problems, is that oftentimes as we start to work with clients, we can become very casual about these coaching conversations. Like very much often in the beginning, naturally, we tend to be more structured, more organized. And then as the relationship progresses, it becomes more casual and less structured and focused. And that can be a problem. Clients don't hire us to be their friend. They don't hire us to just be an ear to listen to them. I mean, maybe some of them do, but for the most part, they want an outcome. So it is essential that in order to have an effective coaching session, you have to have a structure. And I would suggest that you follow this structure every single time. Now, the cool thing about the structure I'm going to share with you is that it can evolve, it can be tweaked to fit a different situations, but you're much less likely to fail or fall short if you do intentionally use this process every single time. By the way I do this is I have this process at this point memorized, but in the beginning, I would just have a blank set of these 6 steps on my coaching notes. So something for you to know is that with every single client that I work with, I have a set of running notes that I share with them. It's a Google Doc and they see it and so do I. And then every single time we meet, I have a section for that date that we're meeting, and I have this process underneath there. And so I fill in the notes myself and they can fill in notes as well. And that way it kind of keeps us on track. And another thing to consider is before you dig into before jumping into doing your coaching sessions, I highly recommend doing a special deep dive session with a client and creating a life coaching plan. This is something that's a kind of an overarching look at what they want to accomplish over the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever that time frame is. So kind of a big plan. And that way, every time you meet, you're operating inside the parameters of that bigger plan. Before we keep going, before I share with you my handy dandy magical coaching session structure, I do want to invite you to please like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the alert button, and maybe even shoot me a comment below. Let me know how this is landing for you. All right, so here's the 6 steps. The first step is to set intentions. Now, I like to do this with my clients. I like to ask the client, all right, client, what would be an amazing outcome for you from this call? What's the intention that you'd like to have for this call? So that kind of sets up the context of what we're going to work on. And it also gives us a sense if what we're going to work on is something that's doable in the period of time that we have, right? So if we have a 30-minute call and the client's like, I want to lay out an entirely new strategy for making money or new revenue stream. Okay, well, let's see what we can sketch out today. And then maybe we have to have a couple more sessions to go deeper into it, right? But it also gives you a sense of, is this a reasonable outcome? Is this doable? And a lot of times you'll find you can, if you set an intention that's big, even in a short amount of time, just the very act of setting the intention means that you get a lot more done in that short amount of time. There's something called Parkinson's Law, which I talk about a lot, which is that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. And the corollary to that is that when you limit the time available for something, you generally get it done in less time. And this is the kicker, you also get better quality results. That's interesting, right? The second thing is for you to gather information and do some deep listening, asking some really good questions. I like to call this the diagnosis portion of the call. And that's where you're figuring out or helping the client see what's going on. And a lot of times the client won't see it, but you will. So this is the part where you're gathering information and sort of formulating a hypothesis, formulating the insights that you're going to help your clients see. So this is characterized by deep listening. And one of the things that I've learned, and the reason that I do my calls, my coaching sessions on Zoom, is that you can learn a lot. You can get a lot of information, not just by what is said, but what is not said. And not just by what is verbally said, but what is expressed through their energy, their body language, their facial expressions. When you're deeply listening, when you're very connected to a client and you're really in there, you can sense when there's a drop in their energy. You can sense when there's a hesitation. You can sense when there's stuff that's unsaid, but just as important as what they're saying. And so a couple things that you're looking for specifically are, number one, where are they operating from circumstance instead of from their vision, right? So you're a coach because you are hired to help a client get ahead, to help them have a more amazing life, a more amazing business, a more amazing relationship, whatever it is, right? You want to look for the gap between what they want to create in their life and where they are right now. Just noticing where they're operating from circumstance versus operating from their vision. Another thing you'll want to look at is, I mentioned it briefly earlier, is like, where's the energy? One of my old coaches used to say, follow the free energy. Look for where there's an uplift, where there's excitement, where there's joy, where there's stuff to build from, and look at where there's a drain. Look at where things are in a struggle, where things are not easy or fun. So the third thing, and the step that I find that I used to skip most and that most coaches skip, is feeling the feelings. Helping your client actually be present with what's true, what's not working, what's challenging. Very often there's a desire to bypass that, to skip over that, to go straight to, well, here's why you shouldn't feel that way, or here's all the reasons that that's not true, trying to make the client feel better. So let's say, for example, that a client is really struggling with money, right? And they're making money, but they're squandering it, or they're misspending it, and they're not able to hang on to it, right? So you might jump straight to, a lot of people might jump straight to, here's some solutions. How about you do this? And maybe deposit it in a bank and someplace safe and throw away the key or whatever. You can give people strategies, which is great. Strategies are wonderful. And we as coaches, that's part of our job, is to give people strategies. But not before step 3, which is really allowing them to feel the pain of what's happening. Now that might sound really cruel, right? That might sound like, well, why would I want to put my clients in pain? Why would I want them to feel pain? They're working with me so they can be better. Yes, but one of the biggest drivers for transformation and action is pain. And in fact, human beings are much more likely to take action and do something in order to avoid pain than to actually feel pleasure, believe it or not. But that's true. That's been studied. And so as a coach, part of your job is to help them become present to what it's costing them to stay where they are, what it's costing them not to shift or transform. So questions you can ask are things like, what is this costing you? When will it be enough? When will this get to a point where you're not willing to live with it anymore? And maybe you can even help them get to that place by helping them feel the feelings right there on the coaching call with you. What I've found is it usually takes a few minutes, just a few minutes, to actually fully feel the cost of whatever is in the way, whatever is the pain, whatever is the problem. So whatever those feelings are, anger, sadness, fear, rage, disgust, contempt, whatever those feelings are, just holding space for them to feel it and letting them feel it right now. What if you were just to fully feel those feelings right here with me? I'll hold space with you. I'll be here with you as you feel them. And generally, those feelings can move through. They might cry, they might scream, they might rail, they might throw something, they might pound a pillow. But whatever it is, it usually moves through pretty quickly. And as soon as it moves through, we move into step 4. Step 4 is reflection and insight. When they feel those feelings, oftentimes they'll have their own reflections and insights. And that is an opening for then you to share your reflections and insights. When you try to share your reflections and insights too early, they might put up some walls, some resistance, or they might even say, oh yeah, great, that's a great idea, and then not do anything with it. But once you've allowed those feelings to flow through and you let them have their own reflections and insights, they're generally way more open to yours. And this is where you can really share with them what you see and what they can do. This is the perfect time to share some strategies. So those strategies that you share with them, you know, you can have a conversation back and forth, come up with some strategies to address this problem, and move into step 5. Step 5 is to create a plan, to create some action steps. All right, what concretely will you now do? Now that you know what's true, now that you have these ideas, these strategies, what is it that you're going to test out? What are you going to try? What are you going to implement? And then finally, that leads us to step 6, which is following up. So once you've captured what these next steps are, one of the biggest ways that coaching can break down is if you never follow up on these steps. That's why I keep these coaching notes and I let my clients see them, because that way on the next call we can say, all right, how did that go? How did those steps do? How did it go to implement them? What happened as a result? And then we can go back through the whole process again in order to create the next set of strategies. I hope that this video helps you to serve your clients more powerfully. And if you're looking to be served powerfully by a coach and you're looking for someone to help you get to the next level, let's connect. This is what I do. I coach coaches, speakers, authors, consultants, experts, and superstars who want to take their businesses to the next level. Specifically, I specialize in how to do group coaching programs, retreats, and masterminds. And if you'd like to learn how to do that or improve the ones that you're already doing, let's connect. You can set up time at superstaractivator.com/go, and it's free. I'll connect with you soon.